My name is Karen Basiye. I currently head Sustainable Business and Social Impact at Safaricom. This is a team of 3 different units. And the first unit is sustainability, a unit that ensures that Safaricom is here for the next 100 years. The second unit is the foundations, where both M-Pesa Foundation and Safaricom Foundation are housed. This is where we partner with the communities to transform their lives and create social impact and purpose. The third team is technology for development. This is the team that does societal and niche innovations for the communities in which we operate in. I was born in a family of 6, 3 boys, 3 girls. My mom was a teacher, so she's a disciplinarian. She was a disciplinarian and a fantastic human being. And my dad was a career civil servant. So in my childhood, I was born here in Nairobi, but started school in Nairobi, then moved to Kisumu. So I grew up between Nairobi and Kisumu. I started my primary school at Xaverian Primary School. Then, because my father was moving again, so I moved to boarding school. I went to Mukumu Girls Primary School. That's where I did my class 6 to 8. And that's where I think I learned to be independent and make my own decisions. Because when you go to boarding, you have to toughen up. And a boarding like Mukumu, it teaches you all the resilience. Then for my high school, I went to Butere Girls High School. I think this is where I came into being the full me, learned to push boundaries, be authentic, speak my mind. That's where I started in high school. Then I went to Kenyatta University against my father's will and wish. My father wanted me to study Bachelor of Commerce, but I chose to do environment science. Story for another day, how I ended up in the environment class. But I think this is where my career life started shaping up. Because in my younger days, I thought I'd be a marine scientist and spend time swimming in the ocean. Never mind, I didn't know how to swim well. So that's where I thought I would end up. So I did environment science. After that, I started working in NEMA, the National Environment Management Authority. We were interns, 6 of us. And I remember in NEMA, we were the young ones. So everyone would send you. It didn't matter which department you were in. So long as any of the senior officers would see you, they'd give you a task to do. So I guess multitasking, unitasking came in there in NEMA. So I had worked in NEMA for a while at the Public Complaints Committee as an intern. And how I got this job, my father never wanted me to study environment. He wanted me to do a Bachelor of Commerce because he's in that line, he's an economist. So when I decided to do environment, my father didn't know until first term was over, first semester was over. So when I took my transcript and he saw I had not studied what he expected, he asked me, there can only be one Wangare Maathai. So what are you going to do? Yeah. And so when I was in campus, it was so clear to me that if I don't get a job after this, my father will skin me alive because I think I'm his most rebellious child, I think, in his eyes. So yeah, after that, I quickly went to NEMA, and after finishing my internship at NEMA, it was in that last end of my internship, there was a public complaints committee. This was an environment ombudsman that was chaired by Dr. Smokin Wanjala. So I had him on radio in the morning talking about it and saying, oh, we'll be recruiting or we'll be looking for people to help us. Who are the people? I rocked up at the office. And I walk in, I see this tall guy, and I'm like, hi, I'm here to see Dr. Smokin Wanjala. And he's like, do you know Dr. Smokin Wanjala? I'm like, no, I don't know him, but I heard him on radio saying he needs an environmentalist, and so here I am. And that's how I got my job as a paid a paid intern or contractor. And then from there, I charted my path. And in NEMA, my most memorable moments were sitting with people who were so learned. You know, when I went there with my degree, I thought I was the ish. Then I met the women who were in Montreal University, Betty. Everyone had a master's, everyone had a PhD. Guys were working on their PhD. So, of course, it burnt some thirst in me when I decided, I can't be the only one with a degree working on these corridors. So I started looking for scholarships. That's when I knew there are scholarships out here. And I applied for my first scholarship and I got it. So the scholarship came through the European Union, a program called Erasmus Mundus program. So I went to study environment policy, science, and management. So I did my tour of Europe because the EU scholarship was for education and culture. So you had to immerse yourself in the European culture. So I spent a year in Hungary, Central European University, fantastic city in Budapest. Then we went for a stint in Greece at the University of Aegean. Imagine spending your whole afternoon staring at the ocean. When guys went for siesta, us we were also busy swimming in the ocean and, just enjoying part of being and immersing yourself in the culture. Then for my final year, I went to Lund University, but I also had done courses from Manchester. Remember, my background was in environment science, but I found it more fascinating to do management and also policy. And that's why I went to Lund University to do my thesis there and my last year. And it is at Lund University in Sweden that I first had the word sustainability. I had sustainability, but from environmental sustainability. And while we were, the beauty of the masters, we would go to different companies like Tetra Pak, Scania, the traditional Swedish companies. And you'd hear when companies are negotiating, they're looking at each other's sustainability reports, what are your sustainability credentials and not financials. So it is at that moment that I knew, marine biologist Kwaheri, I am coming back to be a corporate environment manager. So when I was coming back to Kenya, these roles were not there. Yeah. So it was in my last month and I was thinking I'll spend 6 months touring Europe and so on. Then I saw my sister actually forwarded me a role. She's like, Safaricom is recruiting its first environment manager. You have to come back home. You have to do this role. So I applied for the role. I didn't think much about it when I applied for it. I was just like, yeah, my sister wants me to apply. So I applied. Then my tour of Europe was cut short because I had to come back for the interview. So my sister practically dragged me to this building for that interview. So I came for the interview and it was fantastic. My sister had already worked in here, by the way. So she knew it would be a good place for me. At that time, I was so comfortable in government. Remember, I had already now moved from being a contractor. I had become an environment officer. I had been trained on environmental inspection. We were walking the whole of Nairobi River. It was so fascinating because I was always out in the field. But when I did my master's, all that changed. I realized regulatory work is good, but my heart was in transforming companies like Safaricom to be environmental champions and so on and so forth. So that's how I ended up here as the first environment manager and now picked up the first sustainability person. I did the 10 reports and that's how I ended up in this career and role. So over the years, the things that jump out to me is people, purpose itself. What's my purpose? What's the purpose of me being here? And the people, it's more from my personal interactions with people than how people within a corporate setup. So my purpose is the interplay and my passion is in the interplay between people, purpose, the planet, and profits. And that's exactly what I do here in Safaricom in my career. It has brought all the different phases of the different things I've learned along my journey. Remember, I started from being a planet person. Then now I went into sustainability, into social, into community, into people. So that's the people pillar. And at the top of it, you must have a purpose. So people ask me my purpose. When I went to study environment, I just wanted to leave the world a little better than I found it. And if you look at my motivation letter when I was applying to Europe, Wangari Maathai was my role model. Remember, my father had said there can only be one, Wangari Maathai. But I knew there's space for many, many more environmentalists. There's space for many, many more sustainability people. So right now, I believe everything I do should leave a positive impact for future generations. So my purpose and my work and my life have reached a kind of a nexus where they're together. But in fact, he always says you had wisdom. You had seen the future. How did you know the future would be environment and sustainability? Because now we discuss things like conference of parties, 26, climate change, and so on and so forth. So he says, hey, this is the best thing. Actually, he keeps on telling me, always remember as a mother, because I'm a mother to two adorable little people, two boys. My dad always reminds me that in my life, I should never choose their career path. They might have researched, they might have read more than I've ever imagined. Yeah. And now he's so proud of me. He tells everyone, because now I feature in the EU Africa campaign on environmentalism. So imagine after all those years, the EU came back to find me. So EU in Africa, the campaign has been on Twitter, on TV. Right now, I think I'm on billboards and some buses. And my father tells everyone, that is my daughter. So see, everything has come into full fruition. Yeah. So that is what I would tell my younger self. I would tell them, go forward. There's no box, by the way. You know, people say think outside the box. There is no box. The world is your oyster. Go ye forth and thrive. Figure out what you want. Not that I always knew what I wanted, by the way. I think at times when I look back, I wanted to study law. Just that I never did humanities. So I was knocked out on a technicality that I couldn't study law. But that didn't end my dream. I remember sitting down with the lawyers, yeah, like Don Kip Korir and the likes, Ucheng Odol, and I was devastated because that was where I thought I should be. And they were like, but environment, there's commerce, there's this, there's other things you could do. And when I chose environment, I went back to even my sister and guys to ask, what do you guys think? And they were like, is this what will make you happy? So first, choose a career path that you like. Yeah? Choose a career path where you'll immerse yourself fully. And when you go to a new role, a new office or whatever, you can do it. Go with an open mind. Remember when I came here, my sister was practically pushing me into this building. But when I got in here, it's been 13 years later. I have enjoyed my journey. I have enjoyed working here every step of the way. Remember, I came in as the first environment manager. I set up environment. After 2 years, I was tired of doing compliance and the likes. I started looking what's next. I brought in ISO 14001. I brought in environmental management and the likes. I was done with environment. So when the regime was changing, also be dynamic, ride the wave, grab the opportunities. So that is the time Bob was coming in. And I was so ready. I'd been sustainability. Remember, I'd studied sustainability. So it was packed somewhere. So then we changed titles and I was just the right person. So preparedness beats talent anytime, but preparedness and talent, you're flying. So then I became the senior manager sustainability because I was already prepared for this role. And I took it and I launched the first sustainability report. Last year we did the 10th one. This year we're going to work on our 11th report. And it's been growing and growing. Remember when I started doing sustainability, this was an uncharted path in Kenya. Not many companies were doing it. In fact, people didn't understand what I was saying. Yeah? But I had leadership that believed in me because I convinced them this is the way to go. And all these accolades from sustainability to community, they're here. And we've done this. So for me, I tell young people, don't be scared. And then be authentic you. Never stop being you. Don't try to be current. Don't try to copy my path. I can only tell you this is how my path went. But I think at every touch point, I was always me. So for me, success is fulfilling my purpose. That's what when I feel that I have fulfilled my purpose, I have used all my potential, then that will be success. But allow me to read for you a quote from David Wright, because I feel like this quote resonates with what success is to me. And he says, when all is said and done, I want to be able to say I got the most out of my potential. I don't want to look back however many years from now and say, I wonder if I would have worked a little harder. I wonder if I would have done this or done that. How things would have turned out. I want to, when all is said and done, be able to put my head on the pillow and say I did everything I could do. So I want to give my best. So for me, success is giving my best. And by the time I die and go to heaven, I'll be left with no talent. You remember God gave us talents to use here. I want to have used all my talent, all my potential, exhausted it, but not for me, for the betterment of the community, the society, the planet, the people, so that one day somebody will sit back and say, there once walked a great lady in this world called Karen. So I think first is to be consistent, know what you want. I think that the system at times boxes you into what you don't want. So if I wasn't rebellious in my earlier years to decide I'm going to do what my father doesn't want me to do, so I knew I wanted to do something out of this world, and environment was that for me since I couldn't study law. So the first step is understand what you want. What is your goal? I think purpose comes later in life. But if you're smart enough at that age, figure out what's your purpose. What do you want to transform? And purpose is simply where you have passion, where you have your passion and your life integrate, passion and what you've read integrate or something like that, or passion and career. That point of integration is purpose. Be passionate about something. Stand for something. So step number 1 is identify. What do you want to do? Then make a goal out of it. This is my objective. This is my vision. Make a goal. Because if it stays in your head, you will never translate it. So I use a vision board. Yeah, I have a vision board. And every year, I sit down on my birthday or when I'm in class or wherever, I make my vision board. So I write here, and it has 5 pillars. Yeah. So in my first vision board is my personal growth. What do I want for myself? Then I write down. I'm those people who pay for myself courses, by the way. Safaricom is fantastic. They do pay for us courses. But when I feel like I need to do a course in a certain field, I'll go pay for it and I'll do it. Invest in yourself. Yeah. So where do you want to go? Do you want to sit on a board? Then invest in board lessons. Yeah. Secondly, after my personal growth, I look at career and I map. So here is where I am. In the next 4 years, where am I going to be? Then I put deliberate steps. Maybe understand that organization, stock them on their career portal page, break it down to bite-sized things. So then I look at my career. Yeah. Then I look at my future, my finances and that kind of thing. When I want to retire, do I want to retire like my folks in the village, or I want to be seated in Mombasa, chilling by the beach? You've worked so many years. So then I look at my finances. What am I doing? How am I doing? And you'll realize once you start tracking your finances, you'll cry to see how many useless things you buy. Then you correlate them in your wardrobe. After finances, I look at my health and physical well-being. Because what is the purpose of doing all these things? Then in my old age, I'll be sick. So I love working out. So it's something I started slowly. Now I have picked it more. So what are my goals? What is the weight I want? Every time you're told, oh, you're based on fat or based. When you do the BMI thing, and I used to say, this is not for me. Now I'm taking it more seriously, working purposely towards a certain weight target, what I eat and that kind of thing. Then spirituality. My God is very, very important to me. And then my family. So my family comes in my personal life. Yeah. So I call myself Karen Inc. I'm a small corporation, and I look at myself from all those spheres. So under my family, what do I want for my family? What's our family vision? What's our marriage vision? What do I want for my boys? When I am the one still making the decisions. So practical steps. You cannot succeed in one area so well and leave the others. That's my belief. So with a vision board, it gives you a good holistic overview and steps. So if you do not put it down in writing with timelines, goals, milestones to track, then it's just as good as a dream that will never be realized. So whenever I'm asked my experience as a female leader, I always say it's awesome. It's been an awesome experience, but I see myself more as a leader as opposed to a female leader. I never sit down and say, okay, I'm a female leader. Because at the end of the day, I look at what impact have I made in society, what impact have I made in the community. Of course, being a woman comes with some soft things. You're more geared towards people management. You're more empathetic. You understand situations. You're in tune with the people you're leading. And I've always said that, you see, in leadership, it's not about the people or the job. It's everything in tandem. So being a woman and being in leadership, I think it's a very awesome thing to be. But being a leader in whatever field like I am is more awesome for me. So challenges in my career. One, as I mentioned earlier, not many companies were doing sustainability. Not many companies were hiring environmentalists. So at the beginning of my career, I was shooting blind, if I may call it that way. But I had the knowledge, and I had no one in Kenya to benchmark with. Yeah, because I was among the early environment managers in a company. So I had to chart my own path. So what I do is when I get a challenge, I convert it into an opportunity for learning and immersing myself in there. So when we started sustainability, I had to look around and see who else is doing sustainability. Where can I draw inspiration from? Yeah. The second challenge in this career path was prioritization. So here I am saying, oh guys, we need to do sustainability. People in the business are thinking sustainability, environment, you're the expensive people, you're not bringing back revenue, and so on and so forth. So of course, your agenda is put on the periphery. So fighting hard to ensure that sustainability comes at the center and at the stage at Safaricom was also one of the challenges that I managed to overcome in this career by ensuring that we stayed top of agenda, showing the benefits, So here I am saying, let's go green. When guys calculate, they're like, buying the initial cost of solar is expensive and so and so and so. But now you look at it from the long term and you see this was a smart decision. Like buying solar, it's one off. After that, we have 10 years of not paying bills or something. So I think with time, it's converting the non-sustainability people into the kind of sustainability thinking. And then now the world has come along with the sustainable development goals. So there's a big push. So things always work out at some point and in some way. And at the end of the day, the convergence is fantastic. But the first highlight that I can remember is starting sustainability in Safaricom. That was a highlight. And having worked so hard at this and then getting awards. The awards were fantastic for the company until the day I got my own sustainable development goals pioneer. Then you start seeing this is really a highlight of my career, because all along you've been working to get awards for the business, but here somebody has recognized you as the person, the sustainability mind behind this business. So that was a good highlight, and it affirmed that I had made the right choices. I'd made a good career path for myself. The other highlight was years after finishing my studies in European Union, in Europe, the European Union now coming to run the current campaign, the EU in Africa. So it also affirmed that indeed this is a highlight of my career, that I have reached a place where I have consumed the knowledge, used the knowledge, shared the knowledge, and spread out the knowledge. So I have various role models, but I will focus on my mom, my late mom. My mom was a great role model, and to date, I still live by the ethos she taught me. So whenever I am in a position of making a decision or in a tough place, I always ask myself, what would my mom have done here? And I just flash back to everything she taught me as a young girl, when I started my career, and also my big sister Faith, and my other sister Jackie. They've just taken this role for role modeling for me and creating a path I can follow. So when it comes to career, corporate world, remember my sister dropped me here for the interview. She'd worked in Safaricom, then she moved to KCB. So she knew, if it was up to some people like my father, I would have stayed in government, because my father would have said, just stay where it's steady and stable, because that was his thinking. But with a sister like my sister, who was always moving around, looking around, she helped me ease into corporate world. So I'd say my biggest role model was my mother, then my sister, and then my family. And Wangari Maathai, remember I mentioned earlier that one of the people I looked up to was Wangari Maathai. And for me, it was the resilience. One woman against the tide. You're busy saying, let's protect Uhuru Park, let's grow Karura forests, all that. But I guess the new age environmentalism, we're not protesting. We're now just leading corporates in the right place and just setting the policies and strategies. So she's also somebody I really, really admire. So one of the lessons I learned is to fail fast and move forward. Don't stay there in the failure and, agitating and thinking and over-analyzing and being in a paralysis mode when it comes to failure. So that's one lesson I learned early. The number of times I tried introducing sustainability, introducing all these great ideas, not that I failed, there was resistance, but I just kept at it until it started working. So that was one. The other lesson I've learned is that the world is dynamic. It doesn't stop. So never stop learning. Never stop learning. And you can learn from everyday experiences like meeting other people. You learn every day. But above all, invest in your own learning. Don't wait for the company you work in or the person to invest for you. So never ever stop learning. One of the things I'd like to say is just be authentic. Authenticity. Nobody can be you. So I am Karen Basiye, nobody else can be me. So I've gotten here also by just being authentic and also just being myself, accepting my weaknesses, always looking in the rear view to see where are my blind sides, how do I need to address those. Being self-aware of yourself, being in touch with your real self. So if you're authentic you will go very, very far.